Alrighty people, well this is a video of the first several days of being at my sister's place, my brother-in-law's place. Compared to last year, we haven't been working at a furious pace. There is a lot of footage in here which is probably a bit pointless and a bit questionable of the dog and the chook and other different things, but those of you who watch me for a year or maybe slightly more would have seen this place anyway, and those of you who haven't, well, you're going to get to see this place. It's a property they bought that's sort of in the Snowy River area, I'll put it like that, and just inside the border of New South Wales, and it has hundreds of kilos of plums every year, because it essentially has an orchard, but it also has a bunch of other trees that aren't really fruit trees. Tons of plums, tons of apples, a few pears, hazelnuts, not this year but last year. This year they just don't seem to be producing. Olives, not very many though. Even nectarines. So yeah, I walk around and show a bit of that, walk around and show a few other things that he's been up to, involving cutting giant wood slabs with a chainsaw, and I'm talking absolutely massive wood slabs, and a bit of the wallpaper that we've been putting up and lino we've been putting down, and basically the start of doing the kitchen and the little possum that tries to live in the kitchen. You'll see more of this in the next video on this stuff, because I will be showing a lot more of the kitchen getting redone, and we've been really getting stuck into it today, putting new cladding on the outside of it, and getting ready to put a ceiling in it, and yeah. So anyway, enjoy. In the Snowy Mountains region now, it's all newly reforested stuff. Obviously harvested the plantation, put another one in. There's quite a bit of that around here. There we are. There's a house through there. I'll show a bit more of that later. We're going to work on the kitchen, which is basically a separate building from the houses. They've made a deck in between it. Here's the hazelnut trees this year. Unfortunately, nothing. Apparently they had it wet here, wet enough. We have it terribly dry. But the plums have not failed. I cannot believe there's so many plums in such a close density. This tree is pretty much ripe. Pretty much. Still, like, you know, they could do with another week or so. But they are good. Because this is a cooler climate, purely because we're at a higher altitude, because we're in the Snowy River area, quite a lot higher altitude than where I live. Because of that cooler climate, a lot of these haven't ripened yet. Well, it's ripened on one side, but there's only actually like one tree, that one I just showed, that's like properly ripening. Some of these are getting there, almost there. Not quite though. Might end up kindling. This is the one here that's just about completely stuffed. Yeah, just a little bit rotten, I'd say. Still produces fruit. Not much of a tree though. See if I can stick my arm down it. Oh, no, these are the big plums. Big sort of long, skinnier. Don't know if you could see that. There's one there. Yeah, it's lucky that thing's still alive actually. I think some of these could do with a bit of a trim. I think this is broken and then it's healed itself and continued on. Well, it looks up there. It doesn't look so good but laying down in the ground. Oh yeah. Not really quite right. Yeah. Yeah, that one's not that good. Couldn't tell you what this is. There are a handful of trees around here that aren't actually fruit trees. Brother-in-law's put up another fence. I would put droppers in the middle. We got a few more posts. He's borrowed a post hole digger for the larger corner posts, which he's done all in steel. There's your stay, as they call it, one of your proper concrete blocks. Yeah, that top wire's electrified. I never really showed you guys this, but this is his front paddock and a bloody lot of ducks. I don't know if you can see that, there's a lot of ducks there. Anyway, try not to show the neighbour's house here, but we'll go over and have a look at what he's been doing with one of these ones got cut down and made a big stack and burned them all in a big heap. They've cut down another one more recently. I don't know if it's that recent. He's obviously got some sort of a chainsaw rig. When I come in, he was going like hell at chainsaw. I didn't even realise I was there, but some sort of a rig here. But he's cutting all this up into slabs. And this is all cut with a big chainsaw with about 20-inch bar, I think it is. Steel chainsaw. Yeah, not running 100% straight there, but pretty good. Nothing you couldn't sort out with an electric planer. Holy smoke, man, look at the size of the flipping... That's a big hunk of wood. That's up in my flipping... Makes me pocket. I don't know what the plan exactly is here, but he's doing something anyway. I don't know, but that may be an actual failed beam with a lot of... Maybe an actual successful beam cut out of this same stuff. Just the way that line's going through there, may actually be cutting out 4x4s out of all this gear. Don't know exactly. Big hunks of wood anyway, that's for sure. Flipping massive. A lot of this is like radiata pine, and it's several feet across there. So I think it's radiata or one of those sort of, you know, your white French pine, whatever you want to call it. This might be some sort of a jig for something by the looks. Another 4x4. Yeah, he hasn't really mentioned exactly what it was, but another hunk. Here's a couple others that obviously been here for a little while. Don't know if these will end up with the same treatment. Geez, you get some lumps of bark off them. Yeah, I assume those other ones are more freshly milled than they appeared when I got up to them, but this might be fading fast with the cracks in that. Flaming big trees are bloody big trees. You can see they're sort of all circled around the place, and now they're sort of one by one all getting rid of them. The old mate, the peacock. Peacock. I think there's only one left or something. Was a breeding pair, and I think last female got grabbed or something like that, and that's sort of game over for peacocks. And I have the strange feeling that the neighbour's husband is sort of happy to see the end of him. Finally worked out what the noise was in the suspension of this thing. Every time I do a 3-point turn I hear a clonk. It's the upper ball joint on the driver's side, so not this side but the other side. And yeah, she clonks back and forwards more than half an inch, so not good. I'll get home, but at least we've identified what the clonker noise is, and only be $100 or something like that to get that sorted, so it's a bit of a relief. Because we have some potato plants, and I believe some spring onions that grew a little bit too much. Yeah, not a great deal. I started to grow quite a lot, but yeah, you have a third baby and you get busy, and the garden sort of just ends up becoming a few potato plants and an overgrown spring onion. Horse, of course. Horse itching against tree branch shaking. Neighbours' horses, I think. They come schmoozing in. They get up closer to the house at night. So we've got one tree netted over there. There's another one, big apple tree behind these cypresses that we got netted last year, but if we don't net them, and even if we do, horse of course gets some. Don't you, horse of course? Nay? Yay or nay? Or shit everywhere? Remind me of a bloke I work. There's a little bunny there running like hell. These are the chooks. They got about 3 chooks. I had a number of them die, and gave them, as a local woman who's an expert in chooks, gave them some Cydectin, and work out something like 1 drop per chook, or maybe 2, and cleared them all up. And yeah, all the combs come back nice and red, and none of them died anymore. And I lost quite a few to find that out. I'm not quite sure exactly what parasite it is, but now know that sheep drench of that brand is a bit of an all cure. I think that one's called Pecky. It'll come right up to you all the time, and yeah, try and grab food off the baby and everything. So, got the old Ray over here, the misting fan. Wasn't too sure what my sleeping arrangements were, and if they had another fan, so I made sure I was going to be cool. Didn't need it. Turns out we had a bit of a cool change over the entire state, so we were all right. But there, sat up here on a mattress. This is where they were last time, in the barn. I've actually got the door open still. It's a bit cold. Close that. That's there to stop Snakey coming in. Apparently Snakey will come in. Yeah, this is where they were last time. It sort of turned into the house of junk. Yeah, I notice. Some of you guys might already recognise what this is. Computer fan thing in there. It's a dehydrator. 500 watts. Snack maker. FD500. Little trays. Sure, you can get ones less than 500 watts, but she went and got that thing and used to make things up in it. And I wasn't bad last night. Yeah, but a few of the local, a couple of which was where one guy was as drunk as a maggot and kept hugging us and everything like that. I like talking to drunk people. It's funny to say them and easy going. It's ridiculous. They won't have a normal conversation. I like you, mate. I like your wife. I like your kids. Yeah, no worries, mate. Remember that day? Can I borrow you this? The guy probably barely even remembered it all, but he probably won't remember it now. This one who helped removalists come here, and it was such a long haul that they stayed in the local pub and then hired someone to help unload everything, and that was the guy who helped unload everything, but in the process they bogged the bloody truck here, and it turned from a hard enough day into a complete shitstorm of a day, so no shortage of peacock feathers. We've got a shortage of peacocks now. There's only the one left which I showed the other day. Getting a little bit cold, so I might go and whack some real clothes on. These are rippers. I don't know how many years I own a Dyson, but this thing's about 6 years old, and they put it to hell and back, and it still keeps going. Anyway. Probably not supposed to be showing this, but it's industrial sewing machine. And if we continue to look, we find another one. This thing looks like a blooming just about bomb-proof. Holy smoke, it's heavy duty. Yeah, belt-driven too. It's a bit hard to see, but yeah. It's actually, drives off a motor down below. All your bobbin mechanisms. Real scissors. This one here, I think she's had this a bit longer. I know she used to sell a few things on eBay, but don't know that it would quite justify some of this gear. As you can tell, she's real bobbins, decent size ones, industry grade sort of stuff. Strange looking purple apples. You guys who were watching a year ago would probably remember all this. Got these other trees. I don't know what they are. Some of my French viewers may know. Little tiny things like that. Then there'll be sort of a grey-green ones, and then there's bigger green ones over there. I don't know exactly what these are. I'll show you the other grey-green ones just over here. What are these things in here? These ones. I have no idea what they actually are, but they're stack of them planted, and I'm not sure they're worth shitting on, really. Don't know what they're used for, or if it's just something they like to plant, and they decided to plant it in amongst a whole bunch of fruit trees. That one's a pear tree, by the way. I might have a look at that. There we go. Yeah, look at pears in there. Let's take you down the river. I've got up early because that's what happens when I'm got no blinds. I just sort of wake up as the sun comes up, as we probably all did back in the day. Anyway, I'll flick on in a second. The sap is pissing out of this. If this is the right sort of pine, you can actually gasify the sap, recondense it, and you'll get what's called pine turpentine. But you don't do like all the bark on all the tree, you just do the sap. And if you know how rubber trees are done, and you can cut the appropriate way to get these to bleed sap, the same way as a rubber tree would, well, yeah, you can get a bit of pine turpentine. And back in the day, it was a usable commodity, and apparently, in a saleable commodity, and they used to actually make just like, well, plantations with, people going around collecting the sap. And anyway, they would use that as a usable commodity, and one of the things it would do is clear out everyone's worms, tapeworms, whatever. And I heard someone commented on a website I was looking at, their grandmother would go around and give all the children a teaspoon of pine turpentine, and I'm probably more, I would assume, for the animals, and everybody would get pine turpentine at the same time. The dog, the cat, the flipping horse, the animals, and to clear everyone's worms out all at the same time. And I think it was about once a month or once every few months or whatever they'd do that, and yeah. So, but the other ripper thing it was used for was, which makes you question why you'd be having any, but like consuming any yourself, but they used to use it for back in about 46 or 47, the first Honda motorbikes, Mr. Honda, got hold of 50 two-stroke engines as surplus from the US military, who was still occupying the country at the time, and couldn't get any fuel. Civilians couldn't get any fuel in Japan at that time, and managed to run them off pine turpentine. And I mean, they just piss, smoke and carry on, and they're very, very unreliable, exceedingly unreliable, but they could actually get them to run. And he would not only sell you the motorbike, he also would sell you the pine turpentine, because he had his contacts and whatnot who would get all that stuff. Curly leaf dock. That is all over the place here, and that's that one that I was digging out that's a bit of a trouble in my place, but it's far more of a trouble around here. It's got like a carrot thing underneath, which is, apparently you can slice it up and use the sort of orangey yellow colour of it as a dye, but other than that, it's essentially worthless. You spray it with weed killer and the damn stuff shrivels back, and then it reshoots because it's got this giant heap of energy in this carrot under the ground. And those ones are probably about 6 to 8 times the size of ones I've got, but quite an issue here. But there's the old ram pump that I showed last year. too busy working on a house to play with things like that. I don't know if you saw it as I walked down, but he's got a gasoline one. Chinese made that actually went underwater. The river rose overnight and flipping went underwater. Had to disassemble it all, empty all the water out, reassemble it all, and still goes, but probably lost a bit of its lifespan in the process. But then again, as he said to me, how long's the lifespan of a Chinese flipping engine anyway? I'm like, don't ask the river, because I'm not going to tell you what river it is. Might give away where they live. I'll just say we're in the Snowy Mountains region. Put it like that. No, it's not the Snowy River. That's a bit more dramatic than this little trickle. It's one of the little pools right there, actually. There's a flipping fish in it. Only a little one, so I grabbed hold of him and threw him into the main river here. Pretty sure this is all built as a dam for that ram pump, Lockman pump, whatever you want to call it. And used to overflow, or what they call a leaky dam, which is one with the rocks that sort of will hold back a bit of the water, but it like slows up the flow because of the rocks being there, but inevitably some trickles through, but it's less than what the entire flow of the river is. And I believe that one year it got sick of being dammed in and just blew out and just went right around this side. That was the end of that. A lot of flaming wood here. A lot of submerged wood. Not great for mucking around in fiberglass kayaks. Maybe aluminium boats, but not fiberglass ones, because if you don't watch it, you'll sink after you punch a hole in the bottom. Quite a few people pump out of this because it gets a decent flow. It's always, you know, I think it's the same again when the snow starts melting. That's when things really start getting going here, and where I'm standing it'd probably be right under several feet of water sort of thing. The weed situation isn't great down here, but yeah, it's not great along a lot of this. In fact, the neighbour's got a whole heap of contracts and does have a little kayak with a sprayer on it, and he goes and sprays blackberry along the river for a whole bunch of people, including government. A lot of government work, I think, but one of those things. Last night everything was flicking going, the bugs were buzzing against the window. Hello, I think we had one there. Oh, there was a fish caught in here. Bugs are buzzing against the window, the blooming horses walking around, and the peacock and the flipping chooks, and a fair bit of noise goes on at night. Around here I'm used to it being completely silent except for the odd sheep barring, and maybe the odd red fox yelping, and kittens under my bed going meow, meow, meow. Tiny one there. I think they're in the wrong season for them. This is the other ones I forgot to show. There's a couple more. Olive trees. Phew, falling in a hole. You got here, yeah, 2 little olive trees. Don't think I really noticed olives on the last time. I mean, I wouldn't have, because I was here last time. This time last year. Isn't that right, Pecky? Hmm? You weren't here this time last year, were you? Hey? It's alright. It's alright. It's alright, buddy. It's alright. It's alright. The rooster won't come near us at all, but yeah, come on, buddy. I can usually pick that up and sit it in my lap, but it's just reaching out. I'll be freaking around a little bit. Is that right? You said that about blooming half a dozen times about flipping 4:30 this morning. It's probably 5:30. So, might only been 5, the sun was barely up. The sun comes up about 5:30ish these days, I think. Is that right? As I said, there's about blooming 16 chooks or something before they had the little issue with them being sick and lost a bunch. Yeah, I don't get caught by any foxes or anything like that. I don't think. I think the dogs. I think once they might, and the dogs got some, but got 1 or 2. But there's plums on everything around here. I think this has been an older one, it's all been trimmed back and then it's sort of re-shot. Nice little character. Now, I recognise this one. It's a she-oak. It's the same as what I got planted. I've got a few of these on my driveway. And of course it's the same as the little ones I've planted. Many of which haven't really made it. Some of them have alright and others are just flipping got eaten. I thought this was a holly bush. And they said, 3 or 4 of these will make you sick. I'd just about wipe your head after a dozen of them or something. And I saw something like this in the nursery in a major hardware chain. And Oregon grape, I believe it is. Mightn't be as poisonous as they think, after all. I haven't really looked up much about it, but I did send the photos I took of the one in the nursery, and yeah, sure as eggs. It's definitely an Oregon grape, and it's quite big, substantially big. I think the dogs go and hide underneath it to keep cool. Some sort of a hutch in there too. Oh. You doing, eh? This is supposed to be a kelpie. It's a bloody big kelpie. It has all the giant feet and kind of markings of maybe a German Shepherd. What do you think, buddy? Do you think there's a little bit of German Shepherd? Maybe just like about a quarter in there? I've always thought so, especially when she was younger. Really big feet. It's too big to be a normal kelpie. Always have been, haven't you? You've always been a very big dog for your age. There's at least a quarter German Shepherd in you. A little whippet. Pin nose. Isn't that right, Pinny? Nose like an aerodynamic dog. Oh, shut up. Now this, people, is a proper blood plum. Like the ones I was trying to show, with the fruit and the leaves the same colour. Yes. I don't know if they're ready to eat or not. We shall find it. give them about 2 weeks and it should be good.
Oh, do you remember when you made a video with the horse?
Yeah, I made one of those last night. Let's look at this jam lid, Australians. Insert spins inside the actual top of the lid. Ocean Spray, you Americans probably well aware of that brand, and we have a bit of that brand here, but I have never seen a lid like this in my life. Nate's just pointed it out to me.
How to save money when you serve delicious lamb and help Australia's war effort.
You Americans realise it, but the biggest freight carrier in the United States is a motor truck. Yeah, 51. June, I think this one over there is September.
54, number 4.
Holy smoke.
It's just so perfect.
Yeah, look at that. Ford's a major. Ratings by official Nebraska type tests. Every type of job and every type of soil. Fumes kill rabbits. Carbon monoxide fumes from the exhaust of diesel oil tractor will effectively kill rabbits in a burrow. People worked out they could do the same thing to themselves. Morrison automatic generators. Immediate 240 volts starting alternating current, standard alternating current. Holy smoke. That's the Farmer and Settler 51. You wanted to see how new is Ford for 51. Feature for feature, founded by far. Blimey hell. Dental cream. Geez, that's so hard to brush. It was easier just to put makeup on your teeth or something. Are you still trying? With the lipstick. Oh. Successful farming with the Bulldogs. This old fart in Horsham says this tractor ran on sump oil. Amazing. They had a hot bowl. You know, I think those are the ones you had to light methylated spirits and then they ran on kerosene or something like that. Yeah, anyway, we'll have a little... During the war, says Harold, fuel of all kinds was scarce. I bought up all the sump oil I could lay hands on in the district and the Bulldog ran perfectly well on that. Today, on regular crude oil, our Bulldog is amazingly economical. Not only is your fuel very much cheaper, but you cover more ground per gallon. Another old Forden. Bird. Put himself. Hang on, I'm on one claw there. What you doing, buddy? Yeah, it's a possum. Anyway, there's a big butt hanging out.
Yeah?
Brother-in-law's trying to scare him because he keeps sticking his head inside. There we go. Anyway,
Penis.
I just see the nose there. He can't see anything because his camera's a bit crap. Look how good the camera is. All you just see is the light shining through. And it's not that good. I'll pull him out by his tail.
Put extended phone around.
That's his tail with a bit of flaming water pipe or something and jump a foot. We shouldn't tease him. I'm going to tease him anyway. Have another look, I bet he's inside again.
There you go, Nick.
There we go, there's good footage.
Jumped on you.
Yeah, right, you funny critter. On the other side. Yeah, can't see him. Oh, Nemesis is back. Doing a bit of sanding on all this stuff. A few of it is done by the brother-in-law, but some of it was done by the architect who wasn't very good at it. Henceforth we got a few big, thick humps that I've got to sort of scrape down. And a bit of sanding with the old $5 hand sander. Yeah, get me nice boots peppered all up with the stuff all over the floor. That fluffy friend, brother-in-law made him wet with the pressure washer. Poor little possum, hey? They're not seeable with a stupid camera. There we go. They're not terribly friendly either when you get up close. If we can see them outside, it looks a bit wet here. I might see little feet there. Yeah, camera's a typical heap of crap as usual. Isn't that right, buddy? You're trying to say dead still so I don't see you there, but I already know you're there. We can see your big claws, can't we? Hey? Poor old fluff ball, he made you wet.
It's like when he was a newborn, he was.
There we go. The pears that actually stayed preserved, not done by the can't do it properly world, but done by the brother-in-law's mama. Come from a pear tree that's down the down the paddock a bit. The ones you just saw in the jar have been there for more than a year, probably a year and a half, and they're absolutely fine. They're as good as anything you buy in a tin. Now these are absolutely not fine at all. They don't get a great deal, they're about double the size of that when they're ripe, if you can call it ripe. And that happens to be a particular bug I have seen at my place. And basically, these ones will make your mouth dry out, and they are chronically bitter. And somebody with a brain injury ate one of these. This person cannot smell and they cannot taste due to their brain injury, but they knew something was seriously wrong because the mouth started drying out straight away. So some of you guys may know what this is, but it's a pear that is seriously not edible. So if any of you guys know anything about this, whack it in the comments, and I'm sure my sister would be interested to know exactly what it is. The other ones that are jarred, that's like 150 yards away. There's another tree that they've got netting on. That's the one I showed the other night with the netting on it. That's where those ones in the jar come from. Inquisitive, he's right up against the door. We're not used to having anyone sleeping in here, and he's like, what's he doing in there? He got lovely feathers. Isn't he, right, buddy? He's getting paranoid. Now you guys will be glad to know I finally upgraded to a real phone. Guess what? This is a fake out of Asia. Because no iPhone has an antenna coming out the side like that. That's not a stylus, it actually comes up to a certain point and you cannot get it out any further. And there may be a radio built in to this. Sister says possibly a game as well. All the buttons the same and everything like that. Almost identical. Very, very close copy. And yeah, 32 gigabyte it says. Designed by Apple in California, assembled in USA. And it is made in China and doesn't do bloody much at all. So, one of the kids, his brother-in-law's sister, got it from Asia. This isn't a square bit of wood. That there is actually a round branch holding these on, and these are the ones that are split. Bits of timber, basically. They get a wedge and they slam the hell out of a log and split these pieces. And then you sort of, have them crack off, and you've got to try and get them all line up, and some of them have green. That's a bit strange, and so on and so forth. And apparently, oh, that's right. Yeah, I do remember actually the floor ones are as well. A few of them are, about half of them. Old style. See all the ripples where they're going to split it. It's not even a blade of a saw, circular saw, straight flat saw. It's literally just splitting up with some sort of a log splitter or a wedge hit by a sledgehammer. Some of them are real great. They only go from one stud to the next stud. Oh yeah, straight out of a keg fridge. Mayfair, ready pasted vinyl wall covering, made in England. 1974 Queen's Award to Industry. This is the one we've been putting up. As you can probably tell, it's sort of 70s style. You got it in every language you could flippin' think of. Yes, mein Führer. Est-ce que vous comprenez le français? Don't know what that is. Dutch. You got a pattern lined up and you got to recheck. Some walls, depends on the height, you'll lose, up to like 2 foot, and one side will lose like 2 foot per run to get the pattern one to line up beside the other. It's actually got the glue on the back, which works fine on the cement sheet side, and then we go into the split slab wood, and there's a bit too much old newspaper, there's a bit of dust, a bit of wood sort of splinters, and didn't work. So then we went to a mix of potato starch and water. I mean, they've got glue on them, and they're fine if you put them on nice plaster walls, nice cement sheet walls, even your sort of wet plaster, double brick internal walls. But you start going on this rough as guts timber slabs, and you got to basically make up a batch of potato starch mixed with water. And if you just try and jump the gun and throw boiling water straight in with the potato starch, well, it just goes like a big jelly blob in the bottom. So you got to actually mix it in with cold water and then heat the pot, and don't try and speed things up by pouring in a kettle full of water. Otherwise it goes to jelly. And even when you deal with it, it's like jelly. It's like sago, I reckon. But anyway, you can eat it, and the kids want to eat some. And no, you can't. We're not going to have enough. Oh yes. Well, the BP part is. It might be the vinyl covering PVC. It's sort of like the outside of it's almost like one of my cheapo $2 shower curtains. It's got like a sealed plastic-ish feel to the outside, even though it's paper. But that's why we're using it in blue wren. That's why we're using it in a it's a female blue wren. That's why it's brown. Anyway, that's why we're using the vinyl covered stuff in a bathroom. Because if you use normal paper stuff, it will go rotten. But this is vinyl covered, and apparently it has fungicide built into it. So yeah, groovy, straight out of 1974.